At 10:47 at night, a GPS-tracked live haul truck clears the county road and turns onto the state highway in DeKalb County, Alabama. The truck carries 42 crates. Each crate holds 9 broilers, 378 birds, averaging 6.4 pounds each at 40 days of age, bound for the Wayne Farms processing facility 34 miles northeast. The GPS system, logging the truck's position every 90 seconds, also logs the departure time from the contract grower's farm, a timestamp that the plant's receiving system will compare against the bird's age and the truck's arrival time to calculate total transit within the optimal window. The birds in those crates are alive and warm. By 5:30 tomorrow morning, they will be processed chicken. The distance is 34 miles. The window is tight. Not because regulations require it, though regulations establish outer limits, but because Wayne Farms' internal quality protocols specify that birds held in transport too long experience metabolic stress that shows up in the finished product as elevated pH, poor color, reduced shelf life. The GPS system doesn't track the truck for security. It tracks the truck because every minute of transit time is a variable that affects the quality of 3 billion pounds of product per year. Wayne Farms operates a vertically integrated poultry production system spanning Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, and Arkansas. More than 1,100 contract growers raise birds for 7 processing facilities. Combined processing capacity exceeds 1.5 million birds per day. The value-added products, marinated, breaded, fully cooked, that leave Wayne Farms' further processing facilities reach food service and retail customers across the country. The system that delivers them starts with breeder flocks and ends with the labeled case on a distributor's truck. And Wayne Farms owns or controls every step between. 3 billion pounds, annually, across 4 states. The geographic spread of Wayne Farms operations, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, and Arkansas, reflects a deliberate multi-state positioning that the economics and logistics of integrated poultry production encourage. A single large processing plant operating at 250,000 birds per day draws on contract growers within approximately a 40 to 60 mile radius, which represents the practical live haul distance within the transit time quality window that broiler processing requires. The agricultural land within that radius can support a defined number of contract grow-out farms based on the acreage available, the population density that determines neighbor conflict risk, and the water and waste management infrastructure that CAFO permitting requires. When the radius is saturated, when no additional contract farms can operate within 50 miles of the plant without over-concentrating the industry's environmental impact or exceeding the available land base, the company that wants to grow must build another plant in a different geography. Wayne Farms' 7-plant, 4-state footprint is the result of this logic applied sequentially over decades. Each plant serves a distinct geographic draw area. Each draw area supports a distinct grower network. The production from all 7 converges through the further processing and distribution network into a national customer base that no single state operation could serve. The Alabama operations anchor the company's production base. The state's rural agricultural communities in the northeastern and north-central regions, the same geography that Tyson, Koch, and Marshall Durbin recognized decades ago as suited to integrated poultry, offer flat or gently rolling land, available rural labor, and local agricultural heritage that makes the contract growing model a familiar economic proposition for farm families considering the investment in grow-out housing. Georgia adds production in the Northwestern Agricultural Corridor. North Carolina provides access to the Mid-Atlantic consumer markets that proximity reduces distribution cost too. Arkansas positions Wayne Farms within one of the most historically dense broiler production geographies in the United States, where the infrastructure of hatcheries, feed mills, rendering, and technical service that cluster around integrated poultry has the highest concentration of any state in the country. Each plant draws on its geographic circle. Together, they produce 3 billion pounds. Wayne Farms, breeder operations, and hatcheries are the biological foundation from which 3 billion pounds of annual production descends. The commercial broiler that Wayne Farms raises to market weight is a Cobb 500, Ross 308, or similar commercial cross. The genetic lines developed by primary breeder companies through generations of selection that produced the modern broiler's performance profile. Wayne Farms does not operate pure-line genetic selection programs. The genetics come from primary breeder companies. What Wayne Farms operates are the multiplication and hatchery tiers that take primary breeder stock and produce the commercial chicks that go to contract growers. Breeder flocks on Wayne Farms-owned or contract breeder farms receive the same grow-out management that commercial flocks receive through the pullet phase, the period from hatch through approximately 22 weeks, then transition to the reproductive management program that drives fertile egg production. Lighting programs that manipulate photoperiod trigger sexual maturity at the target age. Nutrition shifts from growth-oriented to reproduction-supporting formulations. The AI programs that manage mating in the broad-breasted genetics that make up the male parent lines in some crosses, though commercial broilers have not lost natural mating ability the way commercial turkeys have, are not required for the standard broiler crosses Wayne Farms uses, where natural mating in the breeder house proceeds normally. The hatcheries that receive fertile eggs from these breeder farms operate the same biological timeline as any commercial broiler hatchery. Setter incubators for 18 days at 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit with programmed turning and humidity control. Transfer to hatchers at day 18 and hatch at day 21. The chicks that emerge undergo vaccination, quality sorting, and boxing before delivery to contract grower farms begins. The scale of hatchery output required to support 7 processing plants, collectively handling 1.5 million plus birds per day, demands hatchery operations that set millions of eggs per week continuously. Each hatchery serves a defined cluster of processing plants within its delivery range. A chick placed on a grower farm in northeastern Alabama at day 0 will spend 40 to 42 days there before Live Haul delivers it to the processing plant that serves that geography. The 40 to 42-day grow-out cycle means the hatchery must produce a week's worth of grow-out starts every week, continuously, because there are always 7 weeks' worth of flocks in various stages of the grow-out simultaneously across the 1,100 grower network. The contract growers in Wayne Farms' 1,100 farm network operate under the terms and economic structure that define contract poultry growing throughout the integrated industry. A structure with specific incentive architecture that shapes what growers do and don't do on their farms. Wayne Farms provides the chicks at placement, the feed delivered throughout the grow-out on the schedule the flock's age and consumption rate require, veterinary services and technical support from service technicians who visit each farm weekly, and the guaranteed market for finished birds. A truck that arrives on the scheduled catch day and takes the birds, at whatever the settlement payment calculates to. The grower provides the land, the housing infrastructure, grow-out houses sized to the company's specifications for width, length, ventilation, feeding and watering systems, the utilities, and the labor. That labor is primarily the grower's own, supplemented during catching week by the live haul crew. The settlement payment that determines what the grower earns per pound of bird delivered uses a tournament system in Wayne Farms as grower contracts, as it does in most integrated broiler companies' contracts. Each grower is paid relative to the performance of other growers in the same settlement group, the cohort of growers whose flocks were placed within the same period and processed on the same kill days. A grower who achieves feed conversion better than the settlement group average receives a premium above the base payment. A grower whose flock underperforms the group average receives a payment below base. The tournament system creates performance incentives without requiring Wayne Farms to specify exactly what the grower must do. The incentive is to outperform neighbors, which drives each grower to manage as well as they can with the inputs the company provides. It also transfers performance variability risk to growers. A grower whose flock underperforms because of disease or management failure earns less, even if the feed and chick inputs the company provided were adequate. The structure of who bears which risks is the central tension in the contract-poultry relationship. Service technicians manage this relationship on a human scale. Each technician serves approximately 25 to 40 farms in a defined territory. Weekly visits establish a working relationship between the technician and the grower that determines how quickly problems get identified and addressed, whether a ventilation problem that is developing in week 2 gets fixed before it costs the grower a performance deduction at settlement or gets discovered at settlement after the damage is done. The technician is not the grower's advocate or the company's enforcement officer. The technician is the operational link that makes the contract relationship function at the ground level where chickens actually grow. Wayne Farms' 7 processing plants handle the kill floor, evisceration, cut-up, and initial further processing steps that convert live birds into the fresh product forms that reach retail and food service buyers. A processing plant at the scale Wayne Farms operates, serving a draw area supporting the number of contract growers that generates the daily live bird volume, runs at line speeds measured in thousands of birds per hour across 2 shifts that together span 16 or more hours daily, 5 or 6 days per week. The combination of multi-shift operation and modern automated evisceration equipment allows each plant to process the volume its grower network produces without the kind of throughput constraints that would create backup at the live haul receiving end. The automated evisceration sequence that follows kill and scalding and picking removes the internal organs through a series of precisely positioned mechanical operations. Vent opening, abdominal incision, viscera withdrawal, lung removal, and washing. The evisceration equipment on a modern high-speed line operates at line speeds that require USDA FSIS inspection of each carcass within 2 to 3 seconds per bird. the inspection window that approved line speed determinations establish at each plant following a review of the facility's historical performance, food safety systems, and inspector coverage levels. The cut-up lines that follow evisceration produce the bone-in portions, boneless fillets, and commodity piece forms that become inputs to Wayne Farms' further processing operations or sell directly to retail and food service buyers as fresh, refrigerated products. The product mix that a given plant's cut-up line produces on a given day reflects the order book. The balance of customer orders for whole birds, bone-in pieces, boneless breast and thigh, tenders, and the specific further processing input forms that the value-added facilities downstream require. Wayne Farms is multi-plant. 4-state footprint allows product mix flexibility that single-plant operators don't have. If the further processing facility producing fully cooked items needs a specific breast input form that Plant A is producing at lower yield than optimal, the logistics system can pull that input from Plant B or Plant C if their yield on that form is stronger. The network's geographic distribution creates an internal supply chain flexibility that the daily production scheduling team exploits continuously. Wayne Farms' further processing facilities represent the highest value tier of the production system. The operations where commodity chicken muscle becomes the marinated, breaded, and fully cooked products that food service and retail customers pay premium prices for. Marinated products begin with the injection step. Fresh, bone-in or boneless chicken pieces moving through an injection machine equipped with multiple needles that deliver marinade, typically a phosphate solution, salt, flavorings, and in some formulas, water retention ingredients, directly into the muscle tissue at controlled injection pressure and needle spacing. Injection levels of 8 to 12% of the fresh bird's weight are typical for marinated retail products. The added marinade weight increases the value per pound sold at retail, while, when properly formulated, improving the juiciness and flavor profile that consumer testing validates. Breaded products add a coating system, a pre-dust flour layer, a liquid batter application, and a crumb breading that applies over the batter. The coating line's 3 stages must produce consistent coating adhesion and even coverage across the full range of piece sizes and shapes that the product form requires. Consistent coating pickup, the percentage of weight added by the coating relative to the uncoated piece, directly determines the food cost of the product for the food service buyer who counts on a specified coating-to-protein ratio. Fully cooked products require oven or fryer cooking to an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit or above, verified by inline temperature monitoring at the cooking equipment's exit. A fully cooked item that doesn't reach 165 degrees internally at every measurement point fails the food safety requirement that a USDA-inspected fully cooked claim requires. The inline monitoring systems that Wayne Farms' fully cooked lines run are not sampling programs. They monitor every unit continuously. The food service customers that Wayne Farms' further processed products reach, the restaurant chains, the institutional food service operators, the convenience store prepared food programs, specify products to tolerances that commodity fresh chicken cannot meet. Piece weight ranges of plus or minus half an ounce. Coating thickness consistency across a case of 40 pieces. Internal temperature verification documentation that the customer's quality assurance program requires. Wayne Farms' further processing operations deliver to these specifications because the food service customers who need that consistency represent the revenue stream that commands the highest per-pound margin in the production system. The GPS tracked live haul fleet that moves birds from 1,100 contract farms to 7 processing plants across 4 states is the operational tissue that holds the production network together. 1.5 million birds processed daily requires 1.5 million birds delivered daily, arriving at 7 plants distributed across a 4-state geography in a pattern that matches each plant's daily capacity without creating receiving congestion that leaves birds sitting in transport longer than the quality window allows. The live haul logistics coordinator managing this flow works with a daily picture of 1,100 farms, whose flocks are at various points in the 40 to 42-day grow-out, with each flock's projected harvest date calculated from placement date and the breed's performance curve. A flock placed on day 0 reaches harvest window on day 40. The window extends to day 42 before birds exceed target weight for most product specifications. The logistics plan must schedule the live haul truck and catching crew for each farm between day 40 and day 42, fitting every farm's harvest into the plant's receiving schedule on the correct days. GPS tracking on each truck provides real-time position data that the receiving plant uses to manage dock scheduling. A truck running late, visible on the GPS display as a position falling behind the route's expected progress, triggers a receiving schedule adjustment before the truck arrives. The plant can hold the next truck at the dock entry or stage it in the live holding area rather than discovering the delay when the truck fails to appear at its scheduled unloading time. Transit stress on birds in transport, measured as the elevated cortisol levels that rough handling, extreme temperature, or excessive transport time produces, appears in the processed carcass as pale, soft, exudative muscle tissue in the worst cases, or as elevated pH and reduced shelf life in milder stress events. Wayne Farms' live haul protocols specify loading density, vehicle ventilation requirements, maximum transport time, and the pre-dawn catching schedule that uses darkness to reduce the activity and pile-on behavior that causes injury and mortality during catching. Each of these specifications exists to keep the carcass quality, the end point of the entire grow-out investment, at the grade the order book requires. 3 billion pounds of chicken per year, divided across the 365 days of continuous production, approximately 8.2 million pounds per day from 7 plants, 1,100 contract farms, and a live haul fleet running across 4 states every night. The system that produces those numbers began the same way most integrated poultry systems began, with a regional processing company recognizing that controlling the inputs to the processing plant, rather than depending on a volatile spot market for live birds, was the only way to stabilize the supply pipeline that a capital-intensive processing operation required. Wayne Farms' development through acquisitions, facility investments, and grower network expansion across its 4-state footprint followed the same logic that Tyson, Pilgrim's, and Purdue followed before it. Vertical integration doesn't just improve margins at each step. It eliminates the market uncertainty between steps that makes planning impossible. The contract growers who form the biological core of that integrated system, the 1,100 farm families across Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, and Arkansas, whose houses hold the birds that become 3 billion pounds, operate at the intersection of agricultural tradition and industrial precision. The land is theirs, the labor is theirs, the investment in housing is theirs. The chickens, the feed, the market, and the protocols governing how the farm operates belong to Wayne Farms. The GPS tracker on the live haul truck in DeKalb County reaches the plant at 12:23 a.m., 14 minutes under the target transit time. The birds unload into receiving. The catching crew is already heading back toward the next farm. Tomorrow night, another 378 birds from another farm make the same trip. 3 billion pounds moves in increments of 378 at a time, one truck at a time, every night, across 4 states. The system does not accumulate. It flows. If this look at the live haul logistics, contract grower network, further processing operations, and 4-state integration behind Wayne Farms' 3 billion pound annual production gave you a sharper picture of how vertically integrated poultry production actually works at scale. Hit the like button and help the algorithm surface more of this content. Subscribe for more deep dives into the production systems and supply chains behind everyday food. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. The geographic range of this audience continues to grow, and every location in these threads tells us something about where this kind of content matters.